Um, we are now going to move on to invite Stephen Roux to speak. Unfortunately, I think Stephen's struggled to get in on Zoom this afternoon, but I think he has managed to dial in through his phone, which unfortunately means Stephen's going to be quite blind, but hopefully we'll be able to hear him, and I think Emily's going to share his slides. So Stephen, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, excellent. Hi, Fiona. Hi, everyone else.
Thank you very much for joining us. So Emily's shared your slides. We can now see them. So if you just let her know when you want her to move on, and over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's slightly odd, but it's still great to be back in Exeter in some way, even if it's only virtually. I studied economics at the business school, and now I return as the policy lead for a number of manufacturing policy areas: skills, supply chains, international engagement, and sustainability. Today, I'm going to try and give you a bit of an overview of the government policy landscape. It's going to be mainly focused on kind of BEIS area of interest, because trying to cover DEFRA and others as well means it will be a little bit too wide, but that doesn't mean those aren't important as well. And I'm going to include a final slide on our interest as the manufacturing team in the circular economy, and specifically remanufacturing, which as we all know, has the potential to create a lot of value in both environmental and economic terms. Next slide, please. So just a quick overview of the BEIS manufacturing team, where I said, so we're focused on cross-cutting issues that are important to firms right across the UK, from automotive to food and drink manufacturing to life sciences. These include industrial digitalization, supply chains, skills, and sustainability. Our key program is the delivery of Made Smarter, which some of you might know, and that consists of an innovation program called Manufacturing Made Smarter, which is an industrial strategy challenge fund. And also we have a regional adoption program, which is looking to support small businesses to adopt industrial digital technologies. And both these programs are now also increasingly focusing on their role in net zero and how it can help businesses improve their energy and resource efficiency through the adoption of industrial digital technologies. Next slide, please. So, BEIS net zero priorities. I mean, the challenges of the recent COP26 negotiations means that there is still a lot to do, in combating climate change, and it remains a very high priority for BEIS. We are still in the midst of the coronavirus, and there's a focus on returning the country to long-term growth. But alongside that is a very, very clear, priority in our commitment to net zero, and doing all that we can to deliver that by 2050. Driving the green industrial revolution, boosting growth, and creating jobs in clean technologies, infrastructure, and energy in all parts of the country. Next slide, please. So, looking specifically at manufacturing, I mean, we've put together a bit of a sustainability vision for manufacturing, and we think manufacturing should be absolutely center of the green industrial revolution. We know it faces its own decarbonisation challenge, but without it, we won't be able to deliver the new processes, products, and technological solutions we need to transform our economy to one that is carbon neutral. And we also know it plays, a much deeper role in society, particularly due to its importance, its elevated importance in parts of the country outside of London in the southwest. Next slide, please. That's just a little bit more detail on the kind of emissions challenge for manufacturing. And I probably don't need to tell you too much detail on this because I'm assuming kind of a lot of people in this audience already understand that. And we know there has been some improvement in the environmental performance of the manufacturing sector, but we know there's still a long way to go. And we want to do it, going forward, we want to do it in such a way that doesn't just, push those emissions overseas, as may have happened in the past. And then, of course, we want manufacturing to take advantage of the opportunities going forward, producing the electric vehicles, the zero emission planes, the offshore wind installations, nuclear reactors, etc., that we're going to need. In order to move towards a net zero society. Okay, next slide, please. So the net zero strategy was published quite recently in October, and it follows the industrial decarbonisation strategy, which was published around about March this year. Both of these build on the Prime Minister's 10-point plan for a green industrial revolution and sets out our decarbonisation pathways up to 2050. Both of these, set out a kind of strong focus on getting consumers and investors to make the right choices, to choose low carbon, adopting low regret technologies, building infrastructure, and improving efficiency. I'll say more on kind of resource efficiency itself, but it's also worth pointing out that we've just, concluded the spending review, and although there's still a lot of detail to be decided. I mean, the big numbers have been decided, but actually what they're going to be spent on, there's still a lot of work to be done to decide that. So that will take place over the coming months. But at least now we've got a reasonable. We will have a settlement that will last us for 3 years. So more detail will be coming up, particularly our spending on innovation and research. But those will be published probably sort of later in the next year. In terms of net zero, like I say, I can't say too much about the detail, but the budget and SR has confirmed that since March 2021, the government has committed to a total of £30 billion of public investment in the green industrial revolution. The plan is that will create hundreds of thousands of well-paid jobs, and importantly also bring in around £90 billion of private investment by 2030. So a real, net zero is not just about becoming a greener society, but it's also about very much about making sure we as a society also capture the kind of economic and social benefits from doing so. And that's very much at the heart of government strategy. Next slide, please. I was also to cover the innovation strategy as well. The innovation strategy is part, again, it's the PM's ambition for us to become a science superpower. And we know that innovation will be critical to achieving net zero, particularly the kind of technological solutions that we've put forward to reach net zero will still require a lot of work, a lot of basic science, a lot of innovation to commercialize those into real working technologies that can help us achieve net zero. So the innovation strategy is really important to kind of set that out. And it focuses, again, there's a strand that runs through these strategies. It is about, encouraging and helping, kind of private sector action. And in this case, kind of private sector business innovation you know, by making the most of the UK's research, development and innovation system. And that is done in 4 pillars: unleashing business, looking at people, so the types of skills we need, so we have the right researchers, the right innovators within business, and then of course the institutions and places, and also designing missions and a focus on technologies that will help us achieve that. Now, the innovation strategy itself doesn't go into too much detail on individual sectors or individual kind of strategic areas like net zero, and that's kind of where you kind of need to read alongside it, you know, things like the net zero strategy, which sets out in a lot more detail some of the ambitions that we're looking to achieve, and you know, some specific innovation kind of actions that are set out alongside that. Next slide, please. Yeah, and then we come to resource efficiency and remanufacturing. So it started with the industrial decarbonisation strategy, but then that was again reiterated in the net zero strategy. You know, a very strong focus there that, you know, on the contribution that the resource efficiency and material substitution measures can make to helping the UK achieve net zero. You know, so the current estimates, and I think they probably are reasonably conservative, is around kind of 9 million tons of carbon dioxide per year up to by 2050. Now we know that, you know, if you really supercharge the sector economy, actually some of those gains can be a lot bigger. But yeah, no, it's best at this stage to work on a kind of conservative estimate. The net zero strategy commits us to joint working and exploring all policy options to minimize virgin resource use and maximize recycled, reused or remanufactured content. And it very much, you know, that is very much our focus, even before the strategy, was very much that we would need to work together with others, you know, across government, within our own department, which is sometimes a challenge when you've got a very sprawling department with people that aren't necessarily used to talking to each other. So it's about cross-departmental working, cross-government working, and then working with our partners in our, you know, innovation organisation. So Abhishek in Innovate UK and his manufacturing materials team, as well as other colleagues, and also, you know, across the whole of UKRI and the research centres, including this one. So it's really about kind of, you know, working together and not sitting in our individual silos. So as the manufacturing team, you know, remanufacturing kind of fits probably best with us, given that it is a production manufacturing type activity. We know there's a reasonable amount of activity already in the UK, but it probably makes a too small contribution at the moment, and we think that can be greatly improved. But in order to help that, and in order to really understand how we can support circular economy activities like remanufacturing, you know, we need to understand the evidence. That's why we are supporting Abhishek and David and Rachel's value retention study. We urge everyone here who's got contributions to make to please do that. You know, the more evidence we have, the better, you know, we can make policy, because we really need to understand not just we need to understand the barriers to remanufacturing and other circular economy activities, but importantly, we need to understand what are the likely contributions those can make to reducing our carbon footprint. But we also need to understand, if we need to when we make the case to the Treasury, we also need to understand the social and economic impacts. So what jobs will be created, what kind of value added, are there opportunities for exports? So all of those things kind of need to be understood. together for us to put forward, you know, policy options that we can you know, safely say will drive action and will deliver real results in terms of environmental, social and economic outcomes. Okay, I will stop there because I think we are running close to time. So if there are any questions, I'll quickly answer a question or two. Thank you. And last slide.
Thanks very much, Stephen. I appreciate it. It's very difficult to do when you're blind, but that came across really well, and yeah, the slides moved on fine. Thank you very much. If you have any questions for Stephen, I don't know, Stephen, if you're able to stick around for much longer, but yeah, we're happy to put questions to Stephen either while he's here or after the event today. Stephen, I just had one question for you, although we are running close to time. Just about kind of, given the fact that the UK imports a lot of our products and particularly technologies, I just wondered, you know, how reliant are we on change to be realised across global supply chains in order to reach our 2050 targets? Hello, are you still there? Sorry.
I'm just thinking.
Oh.
So you're sorry. I just want to clarify your question. So you're asking about how you know, what are we doing about our reliance on kind of on importing of technologies, or are you talking about the kind of embodied carbon that we bring in through our imports?
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit of both, because I'm just thinking kind of to realise some of our targets and you know, talking about circular economy and the cross value chain change that's required, kind of, you know, I guess what are we doing in the UK to work with international partners across those value chains to realise that change as part of the whole system, and how reliant are we on that to reach our targets in the UK?
That's a difficult question to give you a clear answer on. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on. Obviously, you've just seen, you know, what's been happening at COP26, which has been a big focus for us to kind of drive international activity and encourage all countries across the world to kind of decarbonize, and, you know, through that kind of, you know, marshalling of international activity, we will kind of naturally decarbonize our supply chains. I mean, the other things that we can do, you know, we are thinking about is how do we improve, you know, the demand signals that, you know, that consumers send out. So thinking about a call for evidence will be coming out within the next few months. Looking at demand side measures, so kind of providing consumers with better information, making, you know, giving them, you know, the ability to make better decisions about, you know, the sustainability of the products that they're buying. That could be one way. We are looking at ways of improving, you know, government procurement, you know, helping set guidelines for kind of business procurement more generally in terms of sustainability. So I think there's quite a lot of activity. And then, of course, you know, the type of activities that we're interested in terms of the circular economy, if we start doing a lot more circular economy activities like remanufacturing, will you know, be able to reduce even more our imports of, you know, embodied emissions, because, you know, instead of buying those new things that are, you know, based on, you know, require virgin materials, you know, we'll simply remanufacture them here, keeping those valuable materials and their embodied emissions within the UK. So I think there is a lot of activity going on, and we are thinking, and there are actions going on, you know, in all those different areas to kind of target all those areas. But that doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Does that help? Yeah, there's definitely, we're definitely thinking about those things, because it's, you know, although net zero is narrowly targeted at our territorial emissions, you know, we do care about that aim of kind of global net zero as well, and we are definitely working towards that as well.
Great, thank you. And then just one question that's come in from Freya. She asks, what plans do BEIS have to promote industrial symbiosis in the UK?
Colleagues of mine are working on that. So there is a team within our industrial energy team that are looking at the opportunities for industrial symbiosis. So it's definitely an area of active work at the moment. I don't have any more detail to share on that because I'm not that close to exactly what they are doing at the moment. But it definitely is an active area of work for BEIS.
Great, thank you. And I think DEFRA are also very keen on industrial symbiosis, aren't they? And some work taking place there that we can probably link you in with, Freya. Also, yeah. I think a lot of the things that you mentioned hopefully are going to be demonstrated in the next session when we bring in our industrial speakers. So I think probably time to move on to that. Thank you very much, Stephen, for being able to join us.
Excellent, no, my pleasure.